Morning, my friends. Today we're going to talk about more about Revolutionary War stuff because I'm real fascinated with that. And so I'll come up with some themed ideas. We're still using this Sheffield. This is the only razor that I have that is a full grind and is anywhere close to from the time period that we're talking about. This would have been similar to a razor that an officer might have in the field during the Revolutionary War. At this point in the Revolution in 1775, this is the 11th. Is this the 11th or is this the 12th? This is the 12th. Well, see, you're trying to. This is real early in the Revolution, and the Americans had been pretty much getting their butts kicked at every opportunity until, like, would have been yesterday or day before, if this were 1775. Ethan Allen and Benedict Arnold. Both of them were officers in the colonial army. Their troops took Fort Ticonderoga, and then today would have been, what does it say up here? I have some notes up here, but where's Lexington Concord? Oh, Crown Point, Fort Crown Point. I remember something of that. Those weren't particularly big forts, but you know, you take a win when you can get a win. They had some strategic importance, but for the most part, especially Fort Ticonderoga, it was loaded with supplies, and if there was anything that was plaguing the colonial or colonists, they were running out of ammunition and powder and cannons and stuff. So picking off these two smallish British forts would have brought some pretty good and much needed supplies to the colonists, because for the most part, they were like mountain men, run what you brung kind of situation. And if you're running what you brung, you know, just pretty much what you showed up to camp with, it won't take you long before you run out of ammunition, especially if you're shooting in a shooting war, which is what this had just turned into. It's meanwhile in Philadelphia, the Second Continental Congress had just opened up. That would have been the 10th. I think I talked about this last time, but they opened up on the 10th, and some of the guys were just still showing up by now. But this is a very famous Congress, because these are the fellows who ended up writing the Declaration of Independence, which is a pivotal moment in American history. They like to nail this down. Kind of usually shave in colonial days, they would have just face lathered, but I had some lather left over, some soap left over from the previous shave, and so I had it in the bowl here, so I'm just reusing that. And I'm using an appropriate size razor. They had mostly smaller. This is a 19 millimeter. smaller brushes and stuff, and they didn't bowl lather, but they had to conserve what materials they had, and no doubt they didn't shave every day in the field, but officers still had to try and keep their appearance up. They couldn't go full hobo like they sometimes do now. George was still in Philadelphia when all this was taking place. And he's given the Congress, there is making pleas for more supplies and wanting to get his men supplied, which is important. For any officer would do that. This old Sheffield, though, this is Wade and Butcher, is doing a pretty good job. I give it a little bit of a tune-up after the last shave, and full hollows or full wedge grinds like this are a little bit challenging sometimes to get a good edge on because, well, they're big and heavy, and you got a little bit bigger area to grind off. But we're hitting on all 8 cylinders with this razor now. I would imagine that they had they shared razors a lot and did a lot of maybe not as sanitary way of doing stuff in those days. So you'd have one razor for a bunch of guys, and it wasn't always sharp, so that was kind of a neat time and interesting to. I'll use the bay rum again. Kind of a neat time to be thinking about history, and this is a part of history I particularly enjoy. So thank you for indulging me a bit. Let me prattle on about this couple weeks in American history. I'm Major Rich. You find me at theshavingcodger.com, or you might be finding me on my YouTube channel, Safety Cat Studios. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. Leave a like, subscribe if you're so inclined, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.